Calawan would have done on by one of our local producers, a veteran in the media industry in HANSLEY AJODHA. So let me share that with you now. And when we come back from that, we will be chatting a little bit about sports, in particular cricket, with Astel Ren and Riza Abbas Ali. So let's join Kimberly Calawan now as she speaks with HANSLEY AJODHA.
GoldenEye Productions presents.
Do you believe in perfect murder?
A HANSLEY AJODHA film.
Absolutely. On paper, that is.
What happens when love goes wrong?
I love you.
I know.
A tale of love.
Our time together is too short to spend it being upset.
Ever since I knew you, we seem to spend a greater time saying goodbye.
Betrayal.
Are you ever going to tell Tony about us?
No, I couldn't possibly tell him. At least not now.
Revenge. Murder. Filmed in Trinidad and Tobago.
Funny how a man could make an ass of himself, eh?
Good morning, and this morning you would have just seen the teaser to an upcoming 3-part mini-series, Infidelity, which according to writer, director, producer, Mr. HANSLEY AJODHA has some work. I know he's being modest there. It's all filmed here in Trinidad and Tobago, and here to discuss with me the films and other projects is Mr. HANSLEY AJODHA and Mr. David Sammy. Now, Mr. AJODHA is, of course, known far and wide in the media landscape in Trinidad and Tobago, holding several positions from executive producer, news anchor, TV host, to broadcast journalist. But more so, we are familiar with seeing his face on popular local series such as No Boundaries and Westwood Park. While Mr. David Sammy, he's also no stranger to the theatre world, even though he is known as a teacher and principal in several schools locally in South Trinidad. He would have worked with Mr. James Lewa at the San Fernando Theatre Workshop and the National Drama Association Secondary Schools Drama Festival, winning several awards in Best Village and Sandfest. So I must say, welcome to MCTV to these distinguished gentlemen. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, we would have started with the trailer to this film, one of 3-part series. Mr. AJODHA, give me the synopsis of this thriller dark comedy that you described.
Well, thank you very much for having us, and congratulations to MCTV and their broadcast, and many of your faces, incidentally, there I've known over the years. So congratulations to you again, and thanks for asking me. Well, Infidelity is a 3-part miniseries, and it's staying in the genre of thriller. It's a thriller, and of course, dark comedy, meaning that, rather than the slapstick type comedies that we've been accustomed to, dark comedy is a new genre that you're seeing more and more of now in the filmmaking world, particularly those of you who like to look at Netflix, and Netflix takes the great pains of classifying their movies. It's a 3-part miniseries that I conceptualized, and it's based loosely on a piece of work by Alfred Hitchcock, the great director of whom I'm a fan. He influenced me in a great, great way. And I decided that I was going to take the piece and set it at locations throughout Trinidad and Tobago. The movie actually ends off in Tobago. One of the things that I wanted to do when I decided to go into filmmaking in earnest, this is what I wanted to do ever since I was a teenager, and I'm finally doing it now, is to highlight the country. I often call it the Bond formula. That's the James Bond formula. And the Bond formula is beautiful backdrops, intriguing storylines. My films are made for entertainment. Of course, they're little metaphors and should I say, subliminal messaging inside of the film, but generally it's there to entertain. It's also there to showcase the country. The private screenings of the movie have been very positive from various organizations. People are looking forward to the release of the series. Incidentally, I have to tell you that it actually started back in 2013. My lawyer calls it Pakiza, because if you know the history of Indian films, Pakiza took something like about 14 years to come to the screen. The reason for that, there were some incidents of where people died while I was making the film. And then I was afflicted with COVID for 2 years. I got COVID, and then I had COVID long, so I had lost a lot of weight. I was very ill, and I suffered from extreme inflammation. So it sort of shut things down with the death, etc. Incidentally, with this person's death, I had to import equipment. So the budget I originally started off with almost doubled, because I had to import film equipment into the country. And I finally found myself, I started off the movie without any equipment, but merely a script and my directorial knowledge and my knowledge of the film world and the theatrical world, of which I have to thank people like David and they for, and James Lewa. And then I suddenly found myself with a fully equipped film company. I imported 2 movie cameras, everything that you need to make a good quality film or a good quality production. And I completed the movie. And I split it into 3 parts because there were little disparities that I thought that I was uncomfortable with the original cameras that I used and then the new cameras that I brought in. So I decided to keep it on the small screen, even though our screenings privately on the big screen does look good. I decided to go to television and hopefully take it across the entire planet for people to see and showcase Trinidad and Tobago. And there's also a greater impetus behind all of this, or reason behind all of this, is that I want to see a new industry. So I'm investing heavily. I'm applying all my time now. I do nothing else but work with the camera and work on films. I write as well. I'm preparing 2 more short films to join already a film. I know that you'll show the trailer shortly, called A Cry in the Dark, which has been aired 4 times on national television. And that's a short film. And I'm putting 2 more short films to make a composite under one theme called Tales of the Mind. So I am staying in that genre of thrillers, movies that explore the frailties of the human condition and things like that, because it's passionate to me. But what I'm doing is that I'm taking these storylines and I'm setting against beautiful backdrops. For instance, I'll be spending a couple of days in Las Cuevas and Maracas and Blachicheres filming one of the stories. I'll be going to Cedras and different places that are off the beaten track in terms of film. So Infidelity was shot at 17 different locations in Trinidad and Tobago, including San Fernando Hill and that sort of thing. The cinematography, I'm responsible for basically everything you see on the film, because I did get the opportunity to study cinematography under the late great Horace James. And for those of you, he was my mentor. He's my teacher. All my work is dedicated to him. Horace James is a local. He's a Trinidadian. He started off with James Lewa, David, and they in the very early days. And I have to say that he acted with people like Sir Laurence Olivier. He was in the James Bond movie, Live and Let Die. He was a graduate of RADA, the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. He worked for Pinewood Studios, and, he worked with people like Charlton Heston and others. And he passed along a lot of that knowledge that he learned to myself. So I want to see a development of the industry. I am giving up my time for free, incidentally, for the training of young people to come on the set of the movie. As a matter of fact, while I was shooting Infidelity, film students came and visited the set of the Yacht Club, where we were, and also on San Fernando Hill, to visit to see a film being shot. And I'm actually inviting it's under invitation for people to come on and take a look at how we do our work. I'm not saying that it's cast in stone, but I'm saying that what we do is superior or anything like that. What I'm saying is that we have some semblance of knowledge of how to do a decent film, and we want to continue giving to young people as we work, and continue to help to build an industry that hopefully will generate foreign exchange for the country.
Right. I hear you there when it comes to developing our creative sector. That takes a lot. I want to bring in Mr. Sammy here when it comes to lending his voice and his role to this series. Mr. Sammy, tell me a bit about how you feel about working on this project and your role here.
Well, I know that HANSLEY was working on these 3 short films, and I understood the whole philosophy because HANSLEY and I belong to the same group, which is the San Fernando Theatre Workshop, even though now he has his own film company, Golden Eye, but we're still in contact all the time. So that when he said, listen, I want you to play a part which is linking, with a linking narrative for the 3. I said, sure. You know, in the sense that if somebody who is a seasoned theatre practitioner could lend their voice to it, and I feel it's good for all the reasons that HANSLEY spoke about. So I wouldn't, repeat those, but basically it is developing the local creative sector. So I thought, HANSLEY asked me and I was willing because I also liked the scripts, because HANSLEY knows that I would want to see the scripts before I say yes, I wouldn't want to lend my voice to something which I feel is rubbish, so that I was happy for that invitation, and that's how I became involved.
And of course, he's also involved, Mr. Ramkilawan, in Infidelity. In fact, he's at the end of the movie, he makes an appearance, and he's the only person in the film who does not lie.
Okay, so that's not giving away too much. I would like to ask Mr. Sammy a bit about the character that he's portraying in the background without giving away too much.
Well, I'm just one of the people in the lives of the main characters, and I've been there a long time. I'm HANSLEY cast me with my correct age, and so he said he wanted an older guy. So he got me.
Giving away something.
No makeup required. So that, so I'm an observer. And my part in the film it's very short. But as he said, I didn't lie because I'm an observer, just looking at what is going on and reacting to what has happened with this couple. I say no more. I don't want to reveal the plot.
Understood. Now, Mr. Ajodha, you would say it's you have the other film, A Cry in the Dark, which is a psychological thriller. I want to ask you, you told me why you would have gone in this genre, because it seems to have been piqued interest among those with Netflix and all of that. Tell me a bit about how you would have casted persons to act in such a film. I mean, a thriller is not something we usually link to our local actors so much. I know you all are familiar, but how was it in casting the actors and actresses for this film?
I have to, it's a multi-pronged kind of situation. First of all, my love for film started going way back. My father actually operated in a cinema. And as a child, I used to go up there. My family were big fans of movies. My mother introduced me particularly to the films of Alfred Hitchcock. So thus I had a great passion for this type of film. I still look at it with my wife. We sit down and we look at Netflix on all the mystery films. And that's our thing. But when I decided to cast, first of all, I Trinidad and Tobago, we don't have a wide bank of actors. So Kavita Maharaj, who you'll see in it, is a singer and an entertainer. And Kavita distinguished herself very well in the film. People were very impressed with her, and she was acting for the very first time. Many of them, with the exception of Mr. Sammy, Errol Blood Roberts, and Dinesh Maharaj. Dinesh Maharaj, of course, appeared in several big screen films. So did David Sammy, so did Errol Blood Roberts. Errol was a regular on No Boundaries, the television series as well. And he has done a lot of work internationally and nationally. So I had to take a whole new batch of people and train them. The skills that I was taught by people like David and Mr. Lewa and Horace brought me, I was a tremendous beneficiary of what one would call the strongest form of thespianism and the world of acting, the world of theater, the world of directing, and the world of producing. I literally got it from the best. So I took these things that were given to me by these extraordinary people who entered my life very early. And I was able to apply that in training everyone. As a matter of fact, the guy with the best voice in Infidelity says nothing throughout the movie. He plays one of the police officers. And he was acting for the very first time. And I remember when the Trinidad and Tobago Film Company viewed the film, they couldn't help but fall in love with this guy because he had nothing to say, but he was always there following the couple. And so these were all first-timers. Kavita was a first-timer. Many of them were first-timers on film. In A Cry in the Dark, Anesh Denarayan and Deanne Mohammed were also experienced people in the world of theater. Anesh worked with Ralph Maraj. He appeared on several television dramatic productions as well. Deanne was extensively in No Boundaries, and she was very prolific on stage. She would have known her as Sumintra in Ricky Jai's video as well. So the rest of the cast, of course, again, were inexperienced people. Ms. Ramkalawan, we can't develop the industry unless if we get fresh new blood. I don't intend on raiding the cupboard, so to speak, and constantly going back to the same old faces that you see. My purpose is to do exactly what James Lewa, David Sammy, and Horace James did with me. They took new talents and they shaped it into something that was acceptable. As in my case, I was acceptable. So I want the same for many young people. And that's why I want to pass that knowledge on so that we can build a bank. If we do not have a bank of talent, if we do not have a bank of people who are not only actors, but train them in producing, lighting, directing, camera work, etc. If we do not train more, we're wasting time. It's going to be the end of the industry and it will defeat the purpose of what we're doing. So taking such a long way route to answer your question, I just started just pulling talents, looking at people. Many of them are very beautiful women. If you look at them, if you look at The Cry in the Dark, I had some very attractive women on it. I believe women, incidentally, my films are geared towards women. I believe women make the strongest audiences. I think that any business that targets or markets for women is on the right track. It also is probably led by the fact that I was raised by 8 aunts and my mother. 9 women raised me, so I sort of understood the way they would think. So because of that, you would notice a heavy element of a female presence in my films, and also they're portrayed in a certain strong. Their images are quite strong. So it's also another one of the subliminal messages that I wanted to push. And also in the storylines with the actors, I took the time out to speak to the actors about what is my passion behind the work and the frailties of the human condition. Because many of these examine things like infidelity, schizophrenia, whether we go through our lives blameless, and who's to bless and who's to blame in circumstances where things go wrong or they go south or go awry. things like that. And of course, you've got to take the time to explain all of this, because I was a beneficiary of that. David is a teacher, so was James Lee and so was Horace James. So they taught you how to understand the craft and why we do and how you interpret the great literary works. And I would say that it helped me to become a much better person. You can't temper new faces and aggressive personalities by the arts, and of course showing them the direction to something that could be wholesome.
Right. Now, Mr. Sammy is familiar with this upcoming pool of talent. I don't know if he can give me, perhaps he can shed some light onto what's happening with theatre at the school level, and why aren't more persons, more people, more students gravitating toward this industry, even if it's a sideline, even if it's something as a passion or hobby. If you can shed light on that, and where is the Drama Association today?
Right. Well, you've asked several questions there in one. So let me try and be focused. First, there is some avenue in the secondary schools, actually from primary schools with the San Fernando Arts Festival, which is now broader than San Fernando. It's national. The Junior Arts Festival that unearths talent, say, in public speaking and drama and dance and the whole range. Now, I'm starting there because then when you go into secondary school, you have the established Secondary Schools Drama Association, and you have an annual drama festival. Then beyond that, you had a national drama festival, which changed, the format changed. We all used to go to perform in Port of Spain in one venue, and we were judged at the same venue and so on. Then the format changed, and the judges were sent out to different parts of Trinidad and Tobago to view productions. So what happens though is after secondary school, a lot of people are going into their career, meaning they're going to further studies, and they don't always come back. You see, because we don't have a strong national association where people would go into, and this is something that people have been calling for years, not a national drama association as such, a national company, a national performing arts company, where people with talent who have gone through secondary school system, or even Best Village, because not all people go through secondary school, but a lot of talent is there in the Best Village system. They don't get a chance to gravitate to a national theater company. So what do? They have to go and find a job in order to survive. So that's why I told you earlier that I'm a teacher actor, because my job was teaching. And then after hours was spent in rehearsal when all my partners line and thing. And, you're in rehearsal. So that we lose talent in between there. So when I went to university, I didn't do any acting. But when I came back out, I joined Mr. Lewa's group. But I had acted with Lewa before in the Drama Guild. As I came out of Naparima, they were doing a big production, Macbeth. And I put up my hand and said, right. So I was in that before I went to university. So there's a need for that continuity. There's a need, just like in secondary schools, football, cricket, athletics, there's a gap between there and the clubs and so on. I am drawing that parallel because there's a void there. And they at the national level, Ministry of Culture and so on, now Tourism and Culture and so on, at the national level, they have to be cognizant of that fact. Now, some good things have happened. When I was in university in Trinidad, there was no real fine arts department. I couldn't pursue even one course in theater. Now you have a full program, and you have acting and you have film. The University of Trinidad and Tobago also has, they have their own degree program with film and things. So there is a greater opportunity now for people who want to follow that career path. The problem, as HANSLEY hinted to, well, he didn't really said, he said that he's doing this full time. He said he's committed, What he didn't tell you is that he also has to use his own money. So, that's the other thing. You may want to pursue something, but is it financially viable?
That's an important point that we hear all across all creative sector. We want to see ourselves represented in the media, but we don't have the support and funding. And I think that's the downfall there. How much of your own finances have you had to use? Have you been able to tap into any funding, Mr. Ajodha?
Well, I'll tell you something. I have to say that the Trinidad and Tobago Film Company has been very receptive. Interestingly, there are now government incentives that they have under the company. And also there has been provisions in the last budget and several budgets for private sector participation in films and investment in films at 150% tax rebate. These are all things that are being played around with. The Trinidad and Tobago Film Company is giving you back 55% on your film. Now, I can tell you that infidelity to date has cost me over $600,000 of my money. And but what we're hoping is that we can make better quality films with that, because you've got to spend some money in order to get the work out. I must say it's not a good position to be out that kind of money, but for us, we want to tap into the markets. Now, I promised the investors that I'm talking to, as well as the Trinidad and Tobago Film Company, that I'm going to develop a model, a business model, because I'm promising actors profit sharing as well, because if we don't make it profitable, it won't be attractive. There are international carriers throughout Europe, the United States, in Africa, in India especially. India is a huge market. Africa is a huge market. Our diaspora, our Caribbean are all markets. The thing is that we haven't been prolific in terms of our output. And the reason for that is, again, funding. We had Exim Bank. They were here. They were doing something. I met about just before Christmas, and I gave them some GoldenEye production jerseys. Remind me, I've got to send one for you, of my company. And when we met, I spoke to them about coming in. The problem is that many of them are waiting for you to prove it, to prove that it can happen. And that's the process that's ongoing right now with the first work. But I'm not waiting there. I'm not waiting there. I have been speaking to an investor for the funding.
You were talking to me a bit about the pool of talent and then, attracting the younger generation to it and then having to prove that this sector can be profitable through profit sharing and attracting the young pool of talent, developing that pool of talent.
I can safely tell you, and I was on the point about, getting involved in the theatre and the arts is twofold. One, we look towards its own profitability. For instance, Winston Duke is going to be playing the Black Panther, taking over from Chadwick Boseman. The Black Panther in 1 year, in its first year when it was released, made $1 billion. And Winston Duke now, having been born in Tobago, probably would have never realized that life would have been so beautiful. We have a lot of Trinidadians who actually live in Beverly Hills, incidentally, and they work there as producers. They're working across there right now and living quite comfortably. But I can tell you this, for parents out there who is looking on, it has been proven that your child does better academically. If you want to look at some of our leaders, I can start a call. Basdeo Pandey was an actor. He acted in movies, and he said that he went to learn acting because he wanted to be a better lawyer. Patrick Manning, the late Patrick Manning, he was also heavily involved in the arts. Your current Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, was very, very much involved in the arts. He has a special thing for the arts. Dr. Rudal Munilal. Dr. Munilal was an actor. He used to perform on stage. He was a great debater. He was a fantastic debater. And, so you have so many of the people. Penelope Beckles, incidentally, was also involved in the arts, and she's certainly taking her pride of place within her own political party. So pushing that aside, we have seen the development of many young lawyers and business people who have been involved in the arts from school. It makes you become, should I say, intellectually stronger. And that's one of the great benefits. Of course, David could expand by far more on that than I can. All I can say is that I was a beneficiary of that, and I managed to make a comfortable living out of it. So for me, I just want to see the development of the industry. I would like to see more people come in. I want to prove that as well by letting the dollars and the dollars and cents and the figures and the bottom line speak for itself.
Now, both of you gentlemen would have gotten your feet wet in your alma mater, Naparima Boys College. And
I was at Motsec. I was at San Fernando Government Secondary with Dr. Munilal.
Right. And y'all would have worked with James Lewa and with the San Fernando Theatre Workshop. And great plays like A Streetcar Named Desire, Tainted Blood, Masquerade, of course, Junction Village. Talk about where theatre is right now in Trinidad and Tobago, or returning to performing arts. You know, I know there is, of course, the impact of the pandemic, but to me, it seems like as though there's a dwindling of the quality of theatre in Trinidad. And I'm not sure if Mr. Sammy can speak to this as to the return to quality theatre.
All right. Before, I know you're pressed for time. Before I do that, I want to add to something that Hansley said, especially if parents are viewing. One of the things that you are forced to learn in relation to theatre, if you want to take it on even part-time, while you're in school or outside when you're working, is discipline. Discipline and time management. So that you learn that by force, otherwise you're out, you know. You can't reach rehearsals on time. Thank you very much. We'll get somebody else. You can't learn your lines. You can't, get yourselves together for your role. You know, discipline is required so that the people who are in theater, have to be that conscious of what they're doing in relation to school and their studies and the theater. Right. Coming back to what you asked me. Over the years, I could talk first of all for South. There's been a dwindling within the groups themselves. Victor Edwards with Irish Theatre has taken up the slack in the sense of producing. And what's great with Victor is that he's producing work that he himself is writing about things relevant to us. Walid Baksh has been writing. Again, we haven't been active. The San Fernando Theatre Workshop, we had bookings before COVID, and the problem at that point was finance, putting the money together for the productions. And then COVID hit. So the performing arts, and I'm being broader now, not just theatre, is still alive, but it is not as alive as it should be. All right. So obviously COVID and in numbers, because for you to get into a production, if you are financing it yourself, or even if you're getting an external financer, they want to make a profit. So if you could only have half of the people in your stipulated venue, 500 in Aprima Bowl, half is 250, 700 in Sapa and half is 350 to make it profitable. That's the thing. So that it's not that there aren't groups out there to perform, but you have to make a production financially viable. I see you wanted to, yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Sammy and Mr. Ajodha for spending some time with me on theatre.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, and congratulations again to MCTV.
All right. So thank you very much to Kimberly and Hansley and they for the wonderful work that they are doing in movie production, film production in Trinidad. Always quite insightful to listen to them when they speak. Hansley, someone that I've always looked up to as well, as a young one growing up, and his contribution to the media and arts industry in Trinidad and Tobago. So special thanks to Kimberly Ramkalawan for chatting with them. All right. So it's Friday. So let's now join Riza Abbas